everybody. My name is Imen Maharzi, and I will serve as your MC, your mistress of ceremony, for the second part of the afternoon, which is a session totally dedicated to making connections between ideas, people, and change makers in the impact investing space. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and say hi to the selection committee, who was hard at work to curate and work on defining which will be the impact funds that will have the opportunity to explain the amazing work that they do. So please stand, members of the selection committee. You will have Christina Tora from GSG, Sophie Faujour from Impact Europe, Natalia Ré-Vidal from Swen Capital Partners, and myself and Emmanuel Parmentier, you can stand as well, representing Indefi, together with Kevin, obviously, Taibeli, and Marie Suduka from the ChangeNOW team. So thank you. Out of the more than 110 applications that we received, we curated for this showcase 15 innovative impact funds. So just to be clear, we do not pretend they're the best. I know some of you are, have made their applications and were, have been declined, and we're really, really sorry. We just say that they represent today, 2024, in the view of this selection committee and ChangeNOW, an interesting mix of what should be brought to the attention of LPs who are really serious about actively supporting and deploying capital into impact. So how does it work? In 4 minutes, each and every one of them will briefly introduce their fund, but more critically, at least in my opinion, they will share insights. They will share fresh approaches. They will debunk some common misconceptions in their field. In other words, they will help you, LPs, grasp how they are reshaping the world as we know it, and investment after investment, how they solve, or they want to solve, the pressing challenges of our time. You will have a role to play as well, because there will be some microphones running around. Please tell me, yes, one here, and the other one somewhere here. Okay, here. You will have 10 minutes to ask them, 2 minutes to ask them questions, both from each and every one of you, but also from the selection committee if you feel like you're not too inspired by this specific representative. I won't repeat it, but I will have to repeat it, obviously. Please be brief in your questions so that each and every representative will have enough time to answer for at least 2 questions during these 2 minutes. Okay. I've been personally active in impact investing and social business since 2012, both on the entrepreneur and the investor, and now the strategy side. So in deep tech, in tech-enabled, low-tech or no tech at all, in rich and emerging countries. Therefore, to introduce these talented impact investors, I will take the liberty to share with you in a few words what particularly caught my attention when reviewing their application. And I will start with Laure. Astanor is all in on the intersection of impact, agriculture, and technology. What I found particularly compelling is the effort that they put into designing methodologies to increase clarity, we mentioned it earlier, and proof of their outcomes. It's highly needed in this space, and Laure, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon. I'm Laure Perronin, and I've been working at Astanor as an impact associate for 2 years now. Today, I don't know, there you go. Today, the agri-food sector is responsible for a number of social and environmental issues. On the one hand, it's responsible for 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions and 70% of the global water use today is in the agri-food sector. On the other hand, on the social side, we've got consumers suffering from both obesity and malnutrition. The good news is that the agri-food sector can also be one of the greatest solutions because soil and oceans can capture carbon, and it's also an essential sector to be able to feed the planet. ChangeNOW was created in 2019 with a mission to transform and turn the agri-food sector from one of the leading causes of social and environmental harm into the greatest regenerative solution. Today, we are a B Corp certified company. We've got 2 funds with 800 million assets under management. Our investment thesis is to invest from soil and sea to gut. So if we start on if you look at the screen, and starting from the bottom left here, we've got the soil and sea aspect. We invest in biostimulants like Afea Bio. We've got financing solutions for farmers like Produce Pay and Mimosa. We also do alternative proteins like insect, umiyami, standing ovation. And if you continue along the value chain, we've got sustainable packaging solutions like Nopla or biomaterials like Modern Meadow. And the reason we invested in all of these companies is because impact is at the core of their business. And the reason I joined ChangeNOW 2 years ago is because our impact approach is very much data and scientific driven. We've developed an impact methodology based on 6 impact KPIs. So we've got 3 people KPIs in that green round circle there. So our 3 planet KPIs are greenhouse gas emissions, water use, and biodiversity. 2 social KPIs for farmers' well-being and consumer health. And finally, because we're a tech fund, we've got 1 enabler KPI, the impact intelligence one, for all of our companies who don't directly contribute to people or the planet, but provide data to companies who do. And whilst these 6 impact KPIs capture the complexity of the agri-food sector, we've decided to aggregate them into 1 impact valuation model inspired from the true cost accounting and the social return on investment framework to convert them into 1 single monetary euro value. And with this model, we're able to make better investment decisions because we can target companies that create the most impact for society. We can support our companies in their strategic decision-making by making sure that financial and impact return go hand in hand. And finally, we can demonstrate to our LPs and to society of our impact creation by supporting the double materiality reporting, both on the financial materiality with our fund multiple, but also on the impact materiality through our fund impact multiple on investment, which is ultimately for €1 invested in ChangeNOW, how much social environmental value is created. And the good news is we've created a coalition to diffuse our impact valuation model. And as an investor, as an LP or a GP, you're very much welcome to join. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? The 2 microphones are here. Just wave your hand. Question? Yes? No? Okay. Please.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I actually have a question on your last slide. Impact valuation is relatively new among investors and especially funds of, for example, your size. How is it working? How many people do you have in this coalition? Can you tell us more about who else is there and how you're making them come?
Yes, thank you. So today we've got 3 funds in the coalition. So ourselves, the Wire Group, which is a fund from the Netherlands, and TPG Rise, which is an American fund. And then we've got 2 experts, which are consultants specialized in the impact valuation sector. We've received a number of interest from other funds, keen on developing also the impact valuation model, but who don't have the expertise yet, which is why now we're now opening it up to other funds to diffuse the methodology, but the initial core governance group are those who are really experts in the field already.
Second question, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Annegien. I'm a very practical person, so can you do your theoretical model to a startup that is saving the bees? 1/3 of all the crops worldwide are pollinated by bees. 50% of them are ill because of the varroa mite, and they are solving this issue. how would your impact valuation model fit on them?
So the bee replace, like, saving bees is providing for an ecosystem service. So protecting them is providing for an ecosystem services that can be monetized. We can measure from an environmental perspective what they're bringing.
It's a 40 billion market and 50% are ill.
I think the answer is that you'll have to join the coalition to learn more about it. Thank you so much,
Indeed.
Laure.
Thank you very much.
So, next up. So this one is a very iconoclastic thesis in the Europe of 2024. It highlights the specific needs of immigrant populations, refugees or not, and their potential for entrepreneurial creation. Please join me, Peter.
I hate these pictures. I will tell you why. They are used to evoke pity for our donations. But there is a much better way. Let me tell you a story about real sustainable impact. This is our family house in Ghana. My grandmother laid the foundations for it 30 years ago. And then there were a series of military coups. And after the third military coup in just 4 years, my mom fled to Germany as a refugee. And my brother and I, we stayed with our grandmother in Ghana. And when my mother began working in Germany, she started sending money back home for our education, to support 2 families, 10 people, to invest in my grandmother's local business, and to continue the house. All of this with a salary working at McDonald's, or cleaning, or working in a factory. And when I was 16 years old, I joined my mother in Germany. And I've been very fortunate enough to be working in the venture capital and entrepreneurship ecosystem in the last 10 years. And now I send money back home for our cousin's education, to invest in my mom's local business, and to complete our family house. But our story is not unique. Our story mirrors that of millions of other newcomers in Europe. In fact, newcomers are the world's biggest philanthropists. Each year, newcomers send home about $600 billion US. That's 3 times more than all other international aid combined. And when COVID hit and all other international aid decreased, newcomers sent home 20% more money. So for me, the solution becomes clear and simple. If we want to create real sustainable impact, we have to empower newcomers so they can support their families back home. How? We invest in them through the Impact Newcomer Fund. This is the first pan-European fund focused on the integration of newcomers into the job markets in Europe. We are raising 80 million euros to invest in companies that are hiring newcomers, companies that are upskilling or reskilling them, and we're investing in high-impact sectors for newcomers such as health, education, and language. What's in it for Europe? Well, newcomers solve our labor market crisis. They are taking care of the aging population, and their fresh perspectives and new ideas are bringing forth innovations. We looked at about 1,500 different companies, and those that match our investment criteria are making on average 4 million euros in revenue. They're either profitable or working close to profitability. The fund is created by Impact Partners, the pioneer social impact investing platform in Europe, and Singer, the biggest network of accelerators for newcomers in Europe. And my name is Peter. Please, continue to donate to charity and to support these kids. But if you want to create real, sustainable impact, we have to replace pity with smart investments That's when Europe wins, you win, and newcomers win. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. Any questions from the audience? I think any people with an immigrant background felt especially moved by what you said, so thank you for that. Selection committee, please.
Thank you, and well done. At Impact Europe, we know how difficult for impact funds, Impact First, right, fund, to generate a financial return and equally generate positive impact. So what are the ambition of the fund in terms of financial return? Thank you.
So we are looking to return 2 times the money we raised, right? This is in line with what Impact Partners has been generating over the years. Impact Partners has been around since 16, 17 years. We are managing 9 different funds. And so we believe we can return at least 2 times the capital we're raising. That's our goal.
So thank you for the presentation. Can you tell us a little bit more about the investment team? Are there any newcomers in the investment team other than you, I think?
Yes, so other than me, my partner, Guillaume Capel, is there. He's the founder of Singa.
Please stand, Guillaume. Please stand so that people see you later.
Guillaume brings a unique set of skills. He's been supporting newcomers since 10, 12 years. He's the founder of Singa. He's seen to it that 2,000 or over 2,000 newcomer entrepreneurs have launched based on his platform. And so him and I, we bring, I think, the skills needed to raise and deploy the fund. And also we're working with Impact Partners. We have another team member, Zach, who is the co-founder of Impact Partners. He has a migration background himself. He's been investing since 17 years.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you.
So next in line, Mirova, Impact Fund, Life Essentials. I think the name says it all. Back to basic needs, which in the new climate era require urgent priority and cash. The fact that a prime player such as Mirova builds a thesis like this is a commendable signal to the market at large, and hopefully it will make it easier also for smaller funds and more specific funds to be better understood in the nearest futures. So Marc, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all to be here. Very pleased. I'm representing Mirova. For the one who don't know Mirova yet, we are one of the pioneers of sustainable investment. We manage 30 billion of assets in liquid and private asset. Private asset is a bit north of 5 billion today. And I'm in charge of Impact Private Equity. We have started Impact Private Equity with environment. And we have a first fund that is now close at 210 million that cover the idea to support companies that contribute to positive impact on our environment. Why having this second fund? It's simply because we believe, we have a strong conviction that if you want to have a proper transition with a capital T, you need to address the system, so the environment, but also the society. You need to change the people. You need to have something that take care of the people. That's the purpose of this fund. Because it is a systemic change in the way you work, in the way you live. And we have identified 4 main thematics that we will focus on. Learning and knowledge. Educating the young, but also helping the older to adapt to the new world. Well-being and health, how to access the healthcare system, how to change the way you eat, how to have a better well-being in a world that is maybe more difficult. Obviously, mindful consumption. We all know we have to change the way we consume. We have to change the way we impact the planet. And there is many initiatives to do so. And last and not least, diversity and inclusion. We need to help all the one, even the ones that have more difficulty to be citizen of our society. By doing so, in investing in these four verticals, we target 7 of the 17 SDG directly, the one related to people, and indirectly 3 that are more climate-oriented. What is very important, it was mentioned in the previous speech, you have always a debate. Do I make a compromise if I do impact with return? In Mirova, we have a very strong conviction. We make no compromise between impact and return. And actually, we believe that impact contributes to a sound return. Why? Because those companies that address these systemic trends, this trend feeds their growth and aids their value. So actually, even if you don't care about impact, I know nobody here do not care about impact, but sometimes we may tell people who do not care about impact, I'm telling them, you know what? It's not a problem, because it's a very sound investment strategy. And if you don't have sustainable business, which means financially viable business, you do not have sustainable impact. So the two are coming together. There is a symbiotic link between impact and financial return. It's also the reason why we have a multi-thematics, why to have a broader impact, but also to be able to have a better risk management, and we benefit from this great platform, Mirova. Last point, which is not neutral, Mirova, we are Société à Mission, B Corp. One of our mission is to develop finance beyond institutional investors. So this fund, like the predecessor, is accessible to institutional clients, obviously, and to retail clients in various forms. Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. Any questions from the audience to Marc and this Mirova Life Essentials? Yes, thank you.
Hello, thanks a lot for this presentation. How do you measure alignment or contribution to the SDGs?
Yes, of course, I forget to mention it, so good you asked the question. We are an impact fund. One of the main characteristics is that 50% of the carried of the fund is subject to impact achievement. And the way we do it, we do not have like KPI at fund level, because we believe it's extremely difficult to do it when you have 4 broad sectors like us. So we do it at the company level, because frankly, the impact is not my impact, it's the impact of the entrepreneur. So when we invest, like we do a business plan, we do an impact plan. We work the impact plan with the management of the team, and we monitor during the life how we progress on the KPI. And when we sold the company, we compare if we have been good or not. It gives us an impact score, and we aggregate the impact score to be able to assess if we have been a good impact investor at the end. And it will have a direct impact on our carried, on 50% of the carried.
And the SDGs are used to...
Yeah, actually, we link the KPI to the SDGs. So it's a way the metrics we use to assess the impact of the company.
Thank you, Marc. Another question on my left.
Yes, I wanted to know if you are looking for unicorns or a more spread success over the portfolio.
Unicorns? I don't know what is a unicorn. No, we want to have success in all the companies we invested. We are an early growth fund, so we invest after the VC fund, so it's why we call it acceleration. So basically when the company exits the bottom of the G curve, and we expect companies that will have a sound growth. I'm not sure unicorns are the only way to populate the world. We need also companies that are simply solid, and it's what we are looking for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marc. Next up, Blue Orchard and Schroeder's partnership it's a fund of funds to support international climate funds. Blue Orchard, if you don't know them, it's a historical player in impact in emerging markets. And once again, I was struck by the mix of credibility and signaling to the market. They say, now is the time. And most importantly, they remove the common roadblock of, oh, you know, impact managers, they're too small, or with limited credentials, or these are, you know, we don't know these people, we don't trust them. So thank you for that, Nathalie. Thank you for building trust with the newcomers in emerging markets. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we, Schroders Capital, together with Blue Orchard, are currently actively fundraising and investing the Green Earth Impact Fund, where we are looking to generate climate impact in emerging markets with private asset investments. But first, a couple of basic facts and figures in terms of where climate change and climate finance is. Last year, we saw 4.1 trillion of funding gap to meet 2050 climate targets. 95% of global greenhouse gas emissions has come from EM cities that are most affected by air pollution. We saw 1.1 increase in emission globally. But where is the opportunity? Globally, oceans and forests contribute to 1.5 trillion in terms of global GDP last year. Less than 2% of climate finance has gone to countries that are most vulnerable to climate change. And only 11% of climate investments have come from private sectors. So what are we doing to contribute to the planet? We are a fund of fund, which means it allows for multiplied impact. We provide long-term capital to underserved EM managers, focusing on underserved investment themes, climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, biodiversity, and water economy. We are an active leader in impact field. We collaborate with wider participants in the market, and we also work closely with our managers to build impact capacity pre- and post-investments. So how are we generating impact and how are we measuring this? Across the 4 investment themes, we are seeing different ways of contributing towards the SDGs. And it goes without saying, the KPIs that we measure are different. So I'll just give a concrete example. For example, a fund that we have invested in the ocean and water topic, there's a company that actively collect and process ocean plastic and make them into materials that are sold to branded apparel companies. Obviously, it reduces the pollution in the ocean, but it also contributes to reducing Scope 3 GHG emissions in the customer's value chain. So how are we making this commercially attractive also? Schroders Capital and Blue Orchard are a trusted investor in both primary investments and impact expertise. We provide diversification. We give access to diversified asset classes across private equity, real assets, and private debt, across emerging markets countries, and across the 4 climate themes. We do this by our local presence. That means we can have exclusive access to managers and work directly with our managers on the ground. And the fund itself is very, very much de-risked through innovative blended finance structure backed by the Luxembourgish government. So I hope to engage with some of you and looking forward to listen to get your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathalie. Thank you for being super mindful of the time because you leave extra seconds for questions. So, any questions from the audience on this strategy? Yes.
Hello. Thank you very much for this initiative. I think many funds made it beneath you. Yeah. And I was wondering, is your strategy to invest in first loss tranches, or you would go to only senior tranches of funds?
So actually, our fund itself has 2 tranches. So LPs come into first and second tranches, as you called it. But in terms of investing in our underlying investments, we typically look at investment that we may consider funds that have 2 tranches, but most of them actually only will have 1 tranche. So we do not see a lot of blended finance structure. There are, but there are most of them that we really are considering without blended finance structure on the underlying fund level.
And the ticket size that you are in average?
Ticket size ranging between 5 to 50 million. We're raising a 100 million to 200 million fund. Just to give a bit of background as well, we have received funding from the Luxembourgish government, as I mentioned. So that has started us up. We have actively invested into 3 funds now. And we're looking to now raise capital as a senior tranche.
Thank you. Another question? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you for this. You mentioned you're a multi-assets fund of fund. Do you have a predetermined allocation of what you want to invest in equity versus debt versus other? And second, do you have specific countries you focus on, or is it going to be pan-emerging markets?
So from an asset class perspective, we will tilt towards private equity. I mean, we don't have a set percentage, but we do have a target range because it depends on the opportunities. And then infrastructure equity would likely come next, and then debt at the end. In terms of emerging markets, it will be Asia, Africa, LATAM, and we may opportunistically look at Central Europe as well.
Thank you very much, Nathalie. Thank you. So we heard four fantastic funds. 3 more, and then you'll have a short break to breathe a bit, so bear with us. Next up, many things caught my eye in the following fund. One of them is the combination of a highly focused VC fund, which means expertise and unique deal flow, and a large renewable energy industry leader, which means access to engineers and know-how to actually build, grow, and finance industrial projects at scale. Alexandre Tari, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. All right, good afternoon, Paris. My name is Alexandre Tari. I'm an ex-lawyer turned into VC, but today I'm an advocate for bio industry. And I will tell you how we at Taaleri Bioindustry are going to make actual and significant impact by investing in new, disruptive hardware technologies that aim to replace all fossil-based production with bio-based and circular solutions. But first, let me tell you how and why we are investing in bioindustry. We want to disrupt fossil-based industry and fossil-dependent industries. That's the cause of significant part of CO2 emissions and pollutions. And what we're doing, we are targeting to those industries which are really the hardest to decarbonize. For example, we invest in biochemicals to replace harmful fossil-based chemicals. We support packaging solutions, new innovative packaging solutions to avoid waste. And we invest in energy solutions to cut off fossil fuels. And this is how we do it. So first of all, if we want to disrupt the industries, we need to be able to answer to the great call for new, innovative hardware technologies, and that's where we invest. We invest at the development of those technologies at very early stage. However, as we all know, success at early stage requires that you know how to scale up the innovation. So therefore, we are truly a full ecosystem player. We have the venture capital fund that will help the teams, help the companies to support development of new technologies. Then we actualize the impact potential with our growth fund, and we industrialize the impact with our late-stage investment vehicles. Very unique approach that we have at Taaleri is that we really know how to scale up impact. We know how to build successful impact. We know how to build impactful success. With our renewable energy investments, we continue to reduce 1.4 million tons of CO2 every year. We have built one of the world's largest Taaleri refinery, which is currently replacing 120,000 tons of fossil fuels per year. And we are constructing one of the world's largest biocoal factory, which will replace 60,000 tons of fossil fuel with bio-based alternatives. And we continue to support with our crowdfunding investments, for example, scaling up of bio-based chemicals, scaling up production of sustainable biorefinery products, and scaling up of sustainable packaging innovations. Now I stand here to let you all know that we are launching and raising 50 million euro fund to support 50 to 20 new, innovative and disruptive technologies. We have a great team, we have the expertise, and we have the experience. And now I'm asking all of you to join on board and fund the disruption of industries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taleri. Thank you very much. Questions from the audience? And please, for the people who are sitting in the back, there are some seats in front if you want to join and sit more comfortable. No question? Okay, selection committee, please.
Thank you very much. We know at Impact Europe, our impact funders share with us how key is the non-financial support, So how do you, given the broad variety of technology that you will facing with the enterprise of your portfolio, how confident, how you think you can best boost the capacity building of the enterprise of the portfolio? Do you have enough competencies in the management team? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's one of our very, very unique approach in our team, that we have the capability to scan the technologies and scan the existing market and how to actually scale up the production of the new sustainable products with the new hardware technologies. So approximately 50% of the whole Taaleri people are engineers, so with the technical background. So we have the capabilities to really understand the underlying technology and understanding about the difficulties related to the possible challenges in the scaling up of those hardware investments. I hope that answers to your question.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, Natalia.
One. What's your investment strategy, geographical scope?
Yes, so geographical scope, basically our mandate covers the whole Europe, but we have a really strong focus on Nordics and Baltics. And that's basically because within the bioindustry segment, we need to look at where the natural resources are, where are the bases of the innovations, and that's highly focused on Northern Europe. And then, of course, we appreciate the very viable startup ecosystem that we have in Nordics and Baltics. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, for some refreshing diversity, I give you an overlooked geography, namely Eastern Europe. Tilia is a regional impact fund. First check, impact first, ready to finance zebras rather than unicorns. The activism background of Petr shines through and probably attracts relentless entrepreneurs who are ready to make a difference. So Petr, we're here for you.
Hi, I'd like to share our story with you today. Let me start with making the case why Central and Eastern Europe is actually a fantastic place for venture capital and impact investing in particular. There are a lot of myths about the CEE that are simply not true anymore. Did you know that every fourth European unicorn comes from the CEE? That makes 44 European unicorns, of which 17 are impact unicorns from CEE. The CEE VC ecosystem has been growing twice as fast as compared to the rest of Europe. And that all in combination with lower entry valuations, inexpensive tech talent, and founders really hungry to succeed, really qualify CEE as a huge potential opportunity. Our story. Silken and I have been active, volunteering, or working in the impact sector for over 2 decades each. Besides 10 years at Deloitte Consulting, I spent 10 years at Amnesty International as a board member and co-founded 5 impact hubs in the Czech Republic, now probably one of the largest social enterprises there. While Silke brings in a wealth of experience from the private equity, early stage investor, and philanthropy side. And together we just saw that there was really no mission-aligned seed capital for impact entrepreneurs. So we decided to address the gap, and we co-founded Tilia in 2017. So let's fast forward to today. We have fully invested our first vintage and celebrated our first exit, DATLab. And let me illustrate their systemic impact. Half of your taxes is spent on public tenders. That entails huge inefficiencies at best and corruption at worst. And all in all, DATLab's analytics and various tech tools enabling unprecedented transparency can unlock the additional potential of a staggering 1% of GDP per year. With our second vintage, we onboarded EIF as our anchor LP. We adopted Article 9 of SFDR and doubled down on our focus on CEE and seed stage. If you look at our last 3 deals from Czech Republic, Estonia, and Austria, we've been consistently able to win over the trust of founders in heavily oversubscribed deals. And we've been co-investing with large international actors like Draper Associates or SOSV. And all 3 of these last 3 deals have a massive potential for disruption and also impact. But as you all know, none of the 17 SDGs are on track to be achieved by 2030. So there is so much work to do. So this is really an invitation to work together, to co-invest when possible, and co-create the future of CEE and beyond together. And if that sounds interesting, if that sounds good, let's grab a beer after that and talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question from the audience before you grab a beer or lemonade or what have you with him? Any question? Selection committee?
Thank you so much for your presentation and for setting up this fund. As a Hungarian myself, I do value the work that you do. Unfortunately, do you feel alone? How do you bring people in? How do you convince them to come on? It feels to me sometimes that investors would rather invest into emerging markets than into Central and Eastern Europe. What's your feeling? What are the myths that you can help debunk?
Yeah, and there is a lot of myths, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. And I think some of it was true, to be honest, like 10, 15 years ago. But I think we've upped our game, and 25% of the unicorns, I know it's not a fair representation of what's going on, right? That's not the only thing, comes from the CE region. And you know, Estonia and other countries has been at the forefront of innovation when you look at it at the per capita intensity. And I think also Ukraine will really change the game going forward. So I believe we historically served as a bridge between the East and West, and North and South, and it's now coming to fruition again. And of course, there is a lot of explaining why it makes sense for investors, but we need to be aware that 35 years ago, it was illegal to be entrepreneur under the communist regime in our region, let alone social entrepreneur, let alone impact investor. So I think we need to be patient with that.
Thank you. Any other question? No? I have a question for you. What is your wish for your region in the coming years as an ecosystem builder?
My personal wish is that we will never let Ukraine alone, and we will support them to defend their homes and their families, and we will do what it takes to win, to prevail.
Thank you. Okay, last presentation before a well-deserved break. Ocean. So we spoke of ocean just earlier today. Ocean as an investment thesis can seem vague or hard to execute. And what struck me when I discovered the pitch deck is the flawless combination of the unique Catapult brand, their stellar team, and their solid methodologies. Nothing vague here. And the pun is totally intended for the French speakers. So Ross, please join me on stage.
Thank you. Flawless. Okay, that's a lot to live up to. I'll try my best. Brilliant. My name is Ross Brooks. I'm a general partner at Catapult Ocean. Catapult Ocean is an Oslo-based venture capital fund manager investing from seed to Series B in the most exciting and important growth impact opportunity of our generation. You guessed it, it's the ocean. I'll start with a simple slide and I'll try and get more complex, but this will hopefully keep you with me. This is our planet Earth. It's blue. I think that's an important concept to start with. I've talked with several climate investors before, LPs who've said, hey, great, love the strategy. We do climate, you do ocean. And it's a really terrifying disconnect, which I need to rectify. So it is one thing you take away from this pitch. This is it. The ocean is 70% of our planet. It's 99.9% of the livable space on our planet. And it's the most important climate buffer we have as a natural capital system. So since the Industrial Revolution, the climate has absorbed 50+% of our excess CO2 emissions, and without it, we would all be probably long gone. So we need to preserve the ocean, but there's also a tremendous financial and investment opportunity to do with the ocean. So blue economy in general, set to double in size by 2030 across industrial segments. I'll bring your attention to the 21% number here. So that is the climate CO2 mitigation potential coming from ocean, from all these industrial pathways by 2050. So 21%, that's a huge number, 1/5 to meet the Paris Agreement goal, 1.5 degrees. You think there'd be a lot of investment coming into this space. 21%, 0.2% of the venture capital market in 2023 has gone to blue economy financing, which is also a pretty terrifying statistic, right? This was the second best ever year for ocean financing over the last 10 years, 10x from the start 10 years ago from the data set. And this was the worst ever year for venture capital financing globally in terms of volume. And we're still only at 0.2%. So we have such a long way to go here. What does this mean? It means that ocean is a tremendous growth opportunity. It's also a tremendous value opportunity. This is the time to invest. And there are a mountain of opportunities now, and the ecosystem is growing very, very quickly. How do we, at Catapult Ocean, slice and dice the ocean? These are our 4 key industrial domains: energy, transportation, food and water, circular resources, all under immense pressure globally, all being inflated as we run out of resources, and all supported by various different geopolitical programs and government programs. Energy, wind, wave, tidal, floating solar, enabling infrastructure, data, transportation, new ship design, new propulsion systems, new food and water, seaweed, algae, water, desalination, fresh water, and circular resources, plastics, microplastic emission filtration, and new materials. I have 40 seconds, so I'll try and be brief. Some examples of our portfolio: seaweed cultivation, offshore floating structures for new solar, offshore withstand 16-meter wave heights. Transportation, Evo is the fastest production electric vessel in the world just now. Circular resources matter. We co-invested with S2G Ventures, Regeneration ++ last year in this company. Team, mixed competence, 5 unicorns, impact unicorns backed in the last 8 years, working all out of Oslo. And we're raising now a 75 million euro fund, 80% committed and reserved, closing end June this year. So yeah, please come and grab me if you want to learn more. Thank you.
Any questions for the ocean? Questions? Yes? Thank you. The mic is coming your way. Yes.
Hello. Yeah, my question would be, how do you see the freshwater challenge linked to your ocean challenge?
Yeah, we're very excited about the water opportunity, but of course it is a challenge. I think the numbers are by 2050 we'll have a 50% deficit in fresh water globally. And of course some regions are much more affected than that, and the deficit will happen much quicker. Currently we have two freshwater desalination companies, one focusing on remote desalination using solar, and one focusing on a nanoparticle for a membrane enhancement for reverse osmosis. So we see it clearly linked. All water flows end up in the ocean, so we need to really be active and involved in that in our strategy. And of course, the impact potential from clean water is huge on the social and environmental side.
Thank you. Yes. Another question here. Thank you.
Hello. Just a quick question. Do you work as well with companies that will help towards like biodiversity of marine life, or is it something that unfortunately doesn't get much funding? Because like it feels it's very charity-oriented.
That's a great question. It's almost a planted question because it's super topical. So we invested in our first, I guess, almost pure natural capital play last year in a company called Coral Vita, which is doing reef restoration. There's a pyramid of value when it comes to tangible revenue streams for this kind of business. For coral reefs, it starts with tourism and hotels. Next tangible might be coastal defense and infrastructure, which is more government underwritten. And eventually there will be a carbon market or a biodiversity credit emerging there as well. We're banking that in the next 10 years there will be natural capital markets emerging and new revenue streams coming online. But we're investing in the current revenue streams for these models. And it's very hard to find. I think for natural capital investing, I think there's a bigger question at play. How do you fit natural capital complexity curves into a 10-year fund structure? And maybe we need to be like looking at 10, 50, and 30-year fund structures, evergreens, structured liquidity, plus to enable more investments in natural capital infrastructure.
Thank you very much for this fascinating answer. And this is the type of discussion that you could be having during the short 5-minute break. Thank you. And I would like to invite all the pitchers to stand and make yourself seen so that the audience can come to you during this 5 minutes. So who has pitched? Can you stand? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're here. 5. There were 7 of them. Where are the other 2? Okay, thank you. And let's reconvene in 5 minutes for a short discussion and then back to the pitches. Thank you.